World of Warcraft's lore has been on a massive downturn for at least a decade at this point. It's like a Vogue version of Dante's Inferno, but even honestly worse at this point. And the funniest part is, Blizzard knows that something is wrong, that they need to change something. I honestly wonder where did they get this brilliant idea. Was it before Shadowlands? Was it during Shadowlands? Was it when they made Jaina into a walking laughing stock? Was it when they completely destroyed my favorite character Sylvanas? Or was it now when they added the half-black, double crippled, half-elf, light-infused Power Ranger, a woman that does everything better than a man because women get it done. What's her face name? I have forgotten. Or was it then? Honestly, if you ask me when the serious downfall of World of Warcraft storytelling began, I would say that it was Mists of Pandaria. Mists of Pandaria, most people say it was a good expansion. I played a little bit of it. It was okay, I guess. Wasn't my favorite, but wasn't the worst. But the lore, I think the lore got eviscerated because that was Blizzard's first attempt at making something outside of the greater purview of the World of Warcraft lore. Something completely new. The Shaw of Anger, pandas, and all of this garbage. An episodic flick attempt at storytelling. And needless to say, I think it was an absolute disaster. Pandas were perceived as a joke. The Shaw of what now again? I don't even remember what it was. Well, what was also like a comedy skit. It's horrible. But now Blizzard. Listen. Blizzard's listening to us, okay? They have been listening to us for the past 5 years at the minimum. They're listening to us any day now, any day. Big changes. They're listening to us.
Okay, this is going to be fun. We recently published this video about Blizzard's efforts to somewhat retcon the Shadowlands. Not literally just saying, no, that didn't happen, but more recontextual.
My favorite part about the Shadowlands is that at the end, the big bad villain was just a Roomba with knives attached 4 arms, which is hilarious.
Things and making it so that the worst parts were in a way gone. No more first ones in as hard a sense as they seemed to be back in the Shadowlands. No more vague what is to come threat. We called it smart and a little bit light touch. Blizzard aren't sanding down the edges, they're pretty much dumping Shadowlands on its head. And a lot of things that we thought we knew have kind of changed. So this is
I love this idea of the fact that the Shadowlands failed and pissed off people because it retconned everything. And instead of now Blizzard trying to make things right, trying to somehow salvage the Shadowlands by making them interesting and making sense in general, they're just gonna retcon the Shadowlands. Genius! Fucking genius, yes! Let's do more of the thing that people didn't like. Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna sell us copies.
This is what's happening. In patch 11.2.7, Arator visits his aunt Sylvanas over in the Shadowlands, and since the jailer died, she has been saving souls from the maw. Essentially, the souls attack.
Okay, boys, I'm not gonna lie, I am a massive Sylvanas simp. I ain't even afraid to admit it. I love Sylvanas. She is a great character, and I can't stop hoping for her redemption somehow, in not the sense that she becomes a good person or whatever. No, evil Sylvanas, best Sylvanas, but the fact that they somehow salvaged the stains that they made on her persona.
They scream at her, and of course many are there because of her. But then Sylvanas drops a little bit of a bombshell. She's traveled the maw for years now, and she says she's noticed something, that it all feels too familiar, that the whole machine of death feels convenient, that the Shadowlands are too ordered. Of course, for those in the know, calling something ordered in the Warcraft verse is basically code. Code for built by the Titans. So, did Sylvanas just imply that the Titans built the Shadowlands? Is Blizzard...
In storytelling at this point, I am convinced that having gods and not have them be these mysterious entities that you never really encounter, but everything, though, is visible by their influence, is a mistake. Having your gods actually interact with you and you being even equal to them is a massive storytelling failure, in my opinion, currently.
Truly dismantling the Shadowlands lore. What the hell is happening? Well, that is what we're going to find out today. Whenever people send me things, first impressions count. Patch 11.2.7 is called The Warning, and it serves as pre-patch for Midnight. Who's being warned? Well, none other than Varisa Windrunner. Varisa is Sylvanas and Illyria's sister, and like everyone else, she's been hearing a radiant song from Azeroth. Her visions are grim but vague, so she travels to Khazalgar to see if being closer to the Coreway will help. So she lands at the ruins of Dalaran along with Arator. A vision then strikes her, and in this vision she sees Lorthamar and Liadrin screaming. They are being consumed by a holy fire. So yes, consumed by the light itself. And from what we're seeing over in the alpha, the light poses, well, quite a bit of a problem. Maybe not as immediate as the void problem, but certainly a problem if it goes too far. She also sees Magister Umbric destroying Grand Magister Ramath with the void. So perhaps a warning. Grim but vague. So she travels to Khazalgar to see if being closer to the Coreway will help. So she lands at the ruins of Dalaran along with Arator. A vision then strikes her, and in this vision she sees Lorthamar.
I want to express my opinion, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna get me banned off of YouTube if I do. It's just getting worse, isn't it?
And Liadrin, she sees Silvermoon attacked by the someone shaping up to be one of Midnight's central heroes. Finally then, she sees Silvermoon attacked by the Void, and then she snaps out of it. And suddenly, the
attack on Silvermoon, by the way, is the dumbest shit I have ever seen in my life. I have already talked about this, but so if you haven't seen the what's it called, trailer, cinematic for Liadrin and Lorthamar defending Silvermoon, my god, did you miss a bullet, okay? But also, we have literally Game of Thrones Season 10 Defend on Winterhold. Okay, man, we have this fortification that's used for defense and fighting against sieges that makes our opponents at a disadvantage for attacking us. Let's just charge at them and ignore the defensives. Yes, we're literally getting that level of brain rot. And furthermore, we're getting even more brain rot. Zalatav, the 250 IQ mega mind, okay? She's literally fighting Dr. Eggman in her spare time. It's insane. Has the ability to control half of Silvermoon at least because they're somehow infected by the void or something. And she doesn't do it. First, both forces fight in a completely rudimentary autistic battle with no real rhyme or reason. And then she's like, aha, I could actually mind control you all this time. They literally foreshadowed Borderlands 4 plot with the Timekeeper. Another completely brain-damaged antagonist that has the ability to mind control anyone seemingly at will, who just doesn't. Just doesn't. Man, I don't know about you, but man, these are some great decisions being made, in my opinion.
Twilight's attack, but a little bit different. This is a new outfit of Twilight's called the Twilight's Blade. They directly...
Oh, great. I don't care, though. The Twilight's cult needs to be just deleted at this point.
...worship Xal'atath. Clearly, Zal has got her eyes on Varisa. And that would make a lot of sense. She's attacking Illyria through her family. It's what Xal'atath said she would do at the end of Mana Forge Omega.
I mean, first Xal'atath managed to lose underground with an army of spiders that can tunnel anywhere they want. And now she has a cult of magic-wielding, void-infused cultists that can teleport whenever they want. I'm sure she won't fuck up this time. I'm sure Zalatoth will not ruin everything. Kill me now.
So, Arator and Varisa decide to bring the family back together. Lyra's our first stop, but she's on Koresh. Now
Wait, didn't they bring the family back together like, I don't know, 2 expansions ago? Why are we doing that again? Why? Everything is making me already so sad.
I doubt that she'll want to defend Quel'Thelast whilst hunting Xal'atath. You know, revenge really is motivating her right now. Plus, the last time Illyria was on Silvermoon, she nearly, well, accidentally corrupted the Sunwell. But it's the third sister that nobody wants to see return. Though, of course, if we're going to get the family together, we do have to find Sylvanas. So here's the story of how that goes. Alright, so Arator goes to Koresh, and it's quickly clear that Illyria is not giving up her hunt. So Arator asks Venari if there's a way to get into the Maw, because he needs to find Sylvanas. Luckily, Venari had actually learned how to break in and out of the Shadowlands. This happened during her time in Zereth Mortis, where she tried to pull a fast one on all of us by faking her own death. Anyway, a portal opens in the Maw. Arator steps out into the chaos, and we see that an army of the Void has followed us through that portal. But someone is holding them off. That someone is Sylvanas, and it becomes clear that they came for Sylvanas.
Based waifu Sylvanas. Okay, listen. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm willing to ignore everything as long as Sylvanas is good again, and by good that she, that does things and takes over the world. And well, listen, boys. Okay, again, simping for Sylvanas is acceptable. Okay, trust me on this one. Okay, it's fine.
It seems they also intended to stay in the Maw afterwards, but of course we're able to cut them down. Now I will say the fact that the Void are fairly interested in all of this is, well, a little bit eyebrow-raising to me. You may remember the Windrunner Sisters comic where the Void very much screams at Illyria when she gets near Sylvanas. It seems the Void is naturally a bit worried about the forces of death. Anyway, once those little Voidlings are...
I mean, implying that Blizzard knows their own lore is kind of stupid, so...
dealt with, Arator joins Sylvanas. But that doesn't stop Sylvanas pressing on with her mission. She just continues doing what she's been doing since the Jailer's End, which is traveling the Maw, finding souls who are still trapped there, and trying to help them move on. So, she finds a Tauren warrior soul and tells him that the Horde still stands, a victim of...
Okay, if she finds, what's that stupid orc's name that she rightfully killed because he... If she finds that guy and he comes back to the story, I will flip out, okay? Sourfang, one of the two, is the stupidest, most dumbest, nonsensical character in the whole game. Like, he is unrelatable at literally every aspect possible. My honor, my horde. Wait, now I'm gonna ignore all of these things. It's like he doesn't make sense at all. It is pitiful.
Blight screams at her. Of course, many of these souls are there because of Sylvanas' actions. She hopes a Night Elf soul will find their goddess beyond the Maw. One soul, Thomas Zelling, a Kalteran traitor turned Forsaken, was personally executed by Sylvanas during the Fourth War. He hates her so much that he straight up refuses to let her save him. But Arator can't get over something here. He tells Sylvanas he, I quote, expected the Maw to be alien, unknowable, but these structures are, and then Sylvanas...
By the way, I'm just gonna remind everyone, the Shadowlands were supposed to be the death of death. Yes, because we have transcended death, because then there was death, and now there's death. In the Shadowlands form and whatnot. But there's also some kind of death above the Shadowlands? Yeah, I'm sure this is not gonna be stupid and convoluted and be good.
Sylvanas fills in his sentence by saying, familiar. So she agrees with him, saying that this all feels familiar. She says that she's seen past the veil of true death, that there's more to the Shadowlands than seems. And of course, from our perspective as players, what the Shadowlands seemed like was our experience during that expansion. And she is saying that there's more going on than what we found whilst we were there. In the end, Sylvanas says her penance is not up, that she cannot return to Azeroth, so we may not see her in Midnight. But that is not merely all that she had to say. Here's the bombshell. You have noticed, have you not? The Maw, the Shadowlands, all of it. The question that has plagued me since the jailer's demise. I know the truth of death better than most. This, it is too convenient, too ordered. Let that sink in then. Sylvanas, after saying there was more going on in the Shadowlands than she'd initially thought, after saying the structures in the Maw are familiar to the people of Azeroth, is now saying that the Shadowlands is too ordered. So ordered that the whole thing just seems like a convenience.
Okay, so this could make sense, but the storytelling is... The hell does too ordered mean? Like, well, how? She's just saying words and we're supposed to believe her. I'm sorry, but this is not good storytelling. This is pure ass trash storytelling. If she just says, oh, this telephone is not actually a telephone, I'm gonna be like, Mrs. Crazy Lady. Very, very true. And then I'm gonna leave fast, and because I'm worried for my safety. We're just asked to believe this. Like, there is no reason why this is true. There's no reason why this makes sense. They are making this story as if someone is just retelling a friend what the story is supposed to be about. That's how all of this is. No. You're telling the story. You can skip all of the small fucking useless millennial gobbledygook and just actually give us real exhibitions why it's like that. Like, I'm not sold. I have no idea why the hell it's different, why the hell it's ordered or whatever. Like, what do you mean? You're just saying random words. This is not lore. This is not a reason for me to believe that you haven't just lost it in the Shadowlands at this point. Like, as long as Blizzard doesn't stop doing this sort of garbage, the lore will never make any sense. Because there's just too much missing for the lore to make sense, even if we want it to make sense.
System. In lore code speak, she's implying the Shadowlands are a construct of the Titans. Of course, she's doing that right as we're diving into the heart of a saga dominated by the return of the Titans. And in a most unexpected place, in the Maw. That can't be coincidence. And if it's true, it changes much about the Shadowlands, much that people think. I mean, the general thought had been that the first ones built everything, but then Chronicle Volume 4 somewhat retconned them out of relevance. They still do exist, but they're relegated to being a myth believed by the people of the Shadowlands. That is a myth likely planted by the Titans. What we're doing here is playing with the idea that the Titans actually made the Shadowlands, but before Sylvanas' revelation, it still was not totally baseless speculation. Take a look at Oribos, the central locus to this machinery of death. It was described as being made out of a specific ore. The brokers could find it nowhere else in the Shadowlands, so it was hinted that it was brought to the Shadowlands from elsewhere. That's one pretty major clue. In Zereth Mortis, we found the Forge of Afterlives. Of course, the Titans built forges in Azeroth as well. They love building a good old forge. Zereth Mortis is also the location of the Machine of Origination. That is what Zovaal was going to use to restart and dominate the fresh cosmos. Of course, the Titans' protocol for restarting Azeroth was called the Re-Origination Protocol. In Ulduar, we found a constellar servant of the Titans named Algalon.
Okay, so all of this lore makes no sense. So, if they're implying that the Titans made the Shadowlands, this is effectively what it means. So, the Titans had this fucking place that could just recreate existence itself. But they needed to make it, like, on different planes. Well, like, how does that make sense? Why the fuck make other stuff if you have made this thing that recreate? Why? If you can make that, well, if you can make that, why do you even have? It doesn't make sense. Like, all of this is just that giant autistic plot hole that's never going to be filled. Blizzard is asking you to just stop, think, and feel.
The Observer. It was his job to keep tabs on everything going on in Azeroth. He would essentially re-originate the planet if the old god corruption got too much out of control. Of course, in the sepulchre of the first ones, we found Rygalon, a jailer-dominated constellar. Quite literally a servant of the Titans found in the center of Zareth Mortis' sepulchre, albeit one bent to the jailer's will. How did he get there? Who left him there? Did he have a mission like Algalon? Was he observing something? And of course in Korthia, we found all sorts of crazy stuff, but the most significant was the core of an unknown Titan. Quite the thing to find just lying around the place. It had been taken apart and studied multiple times, but here's the main headline. The core of a Titan that we don't know the name of. One who presumably died in the Shadowlands, that was being studied by the attendants of Korthia. And if that wasn't enough, the whole place is ran by robots, automatons, from the lowest dredger to the highest eternal one. You know, much like the Titan Keepers of Azeroth. Maybe a bit less like a true god. Now, there's certainly other stuff to this. You can think of a character like Elune, who has got very, very deep ties to the Winter Queen, so there's almost certainly more stuff going on, but heavy Titan involvement does seem to be particularly likely. So it's totally possible to make this argument, but it's a little sticky. There's plenty of evidence we could use to argue against.
By the way, I love Alira's, what, I forgot even her name at this point. It's all blurring together because I can't get any longer. Tyrande, there we go. A little different character, that's like the Sylvanas sister. But Tyrande, I love her story. Revenge, I'm gonna take revenge. It's all about taking revenge and doing the revenge thing, right? And at no point does anyone tell her, like, revenge bad, or anything like that. She's like, I'm just gonna take revenge, and everyone around her is like, uh-huh. And then she has the chance to take revenge, and the revenge is gonna kill her, and it's like, oh, well, can't have that, so if she stopped, revenge suddenly bad. God, it's like, what is the point of a character arc any longer in this godforsaken shit show?
The Titan creation theory. As an example, in Odin's Edicts of the Prime Designate, he tells the Titan servants in Azeroth to keep the mortals ignorant of the first ones, who he calls the progenitors. He says to ascribe all wonders to the Titans. This would seem to kill it, right? Like, this is one of Aman'Thul's top guys saying that the first ones do in fact exist. He says to take all that the first ones did and just ascribe that to the Titans. So this is one of Aman'Thul's top guys, Aman'Thul being the leader of the Titans, saying that the first ones do in fact exist. And then there's what I mentioned a minute or two ago. Think about the Winter Queen's connection to Elune. Is she a robot like Zovaal? Does that make Elune a robot? This is kind of tricky stuff. But that's kind of the point of dismantling lore that is this big. You might have to embellish things just a little bit, change or straight up ignore.
I love Bellier's constant, okay, it's fine if they retcon the lore because it doesn't make sense anyway, so if it makes more sense now, even though it won't, that's cool. I love that.
Or some of the most fundamental stuff. And when we think about how the story of World of Warcraft changed with World Soul Saga existing, well, there is something to lend some credence to that. Remember, Chris Metzen returned to Blizzard Entertainment when Dragonflight released. And when
I remember Chris Metzen returning and seeing the video where Blizzard also does the snip on him because reasons.
War Within was 8 months into production. So, say, Khazalgar also being mentioned in those Odin documents found in Ultiman makes a hell of a lot of sense. We were always going to be going to Khazalgar. The rest of the World Soul Saga, well, that only really came into existence once Metzen and presumably a bunch of other pretty important bigwigs got together and decided to do this whole saga plan. And that would mean that those Edicts of the Prime Designate, well, those were written, shall we just say, under very different creative direction. Creative direction that was going to be pushing Warcraft in a fairly different direction to the one it seems we're going in. But you may be wondering, what is all of this for? Because this doesn't just seem like a change made to make
Nothing, probably. That's the best part. This is probably completely useless.
Make us feel a bit better about the Shadowlands. It far more seems like it is building towards something. I'm here to tell you that it is. It is building towards the Last Titan. The Last Titan is the final expansion of the World Soul saga. It's the one that will finish all of this off, and of course, it's heavily focused on the Titans. It's when the Titans will return to Azeroth, and presumably, shenanigans will ensue. So, what are we talking about here then? Are we really saying Aman'Thul and the crew built the whole afterlife? That they just ran in there and changed things up? That they built some sort of...
Does anyone want to ask the actually quite obvious, if you think about the question that no one has answered or is even attempting to answer, is like, if Azeroth's World Soul matters so much, and the Titans cared about it so much, why haven't they actually just came back already, like a very, very long time ago, seeming because they seemingly can do that, right? And just, you know, to do the stuff that needs to be done? Like, why? Like, why is this super important thing that everyone knows is super important and the Titans know that it's super important and it's right there? Why have they just kind of left it to be taken over by the bold gods and other BS? Is this gonna be a Captain Marvel? Oh, I was actually saving the universe while Thanos was attacking you, so I did a lot of things anyway. God, I love Brie Larson so much.
Anima pumping prison colony for souls, you know, harvesting up all that lovely white anima goo and using it to order all of creation for their grand plan. Is that what's going on? Because if so, it would be a fairly immense change to the lore. It would kind of look like the first ones are being fully cut out. It would look like it's a Blizzard returning the true afterlife to the mystery box. But I think the real question is why now? Why is this important? Because we already know Blizzard is pulling focus away from the worst parts of the Shadowlands. We made a video about it before all of this stuff landed. But why talk about the Titans now?
Oh, hell yeah, my girl has a harp. Oh, babe. Or is that like a minor version of a harp, like a, you know, a ukulele harp?
Well,
oh no, not a ukulele.
I think it should be fairly obvious. After midnight, we launch into the Last Titan.
I'm pretty sure this has a real name. No idea what that is.
That's where we discover a Titan-led conspiracy stretching back to the most distant past. That's what Metzen very much hyped up on stage at BlizzCon. And this is going on just as we're gearing up to not only meet, but also question everything that we thought about the Titans. I think that means we may find out something rather incredible. They may have been the ones that created the Shadowlands in the first place. Maybe after we've dealt with Aman'Thul, after we've finally broken Azeroth free of her titanic chains, maybe then we can point to the Shadowlands and say the whole thing was part of that same Titan conspiracy, and perhaps in a way throw it out. Because what would the Shadowlands be? Well, the Shadowlands, as we knew them, would have been a bunch of Titan stuff that they went and did. Perhaps much like how there is the natural plane of life, and then there is the Emerald Dream, the bit that kind of got ordered and was used by the Titans as a little bit of a tool. But what if I told you there's a way to thread the needle that essentially removes all hard retcons, makes everything make sense, and actually makes the story cool?
Thank you. That was Billiard Gaming 10 out of 10. I had to remove that part because YouTube's not going to be kind against me if I keep that one in. Art doesn't matter for YouTube. Anyway, bye!